What's going on, guys? 8:28 in the morning on a Wednesday, 20th of November, 2024. The Waver Johnson of Roseman, California, is back on the line again. Good Lord, he's here. Ugh. Yes, I have been getting a little raunchy with my videos a little bit there, and yeah, the finger blame is still pointing at people. I'm still trying to take accountability, transparency, and responsibility for my own actions, and I'm going to get my ass reamed on a lot of things. But how would you like to get your butt reamed when you're allowing your kids to be free range? What they're calling it these days. That's a new terminology for me. Now we're calling the kids free range, like they're herd of something or herd of animals. Apparently, there's this Georgia mom who was arrested in front of her children. There are stories being bounced around all over the internet. This one I was reading off of ABC News, posted 9 hours ago, because this was about 2 or 3 days since the action happened. And I'm looking back at this thing and I'm asking myself, not why did she had to have this happen, but actually, I'll take that back, about 4 or 5 days ago. Because according to research, when I'm looking on the YouTubes, there's a lot of videos going up to at least 5 days on this one. So about a week ago. And I'm scratching my head on this one, asking myself, has the culture changed concerning about what kids are allowed to do and what kids are not allowed to do? Especially where you're at. The older farts remember that we didn't have that kind of terrifying aspect of hearing a knock on the door, having the police come in and arrest us because our kid's missing. Or actually found a kid. Even if it's about a disappearance about an hour. We, growing up as a kid, back in the 60s and 70s, well, 60s I was already about 4 or 5 around that time anyway. And so the 70s is the time of growing up. We had a supermarket in the neighborhood. I had a big brother who was in his teens. 8 years difference. So I had a babysitter, so to speak. Even though he would have been considered a free range kid. But if we needed groceries, we had gone over to the local supermarket, got it, came back home. If we wanted to get some fast food, we were allowed to go to the McDonald's, which was like a half-mile away, or about that. And we walked back with cold food. But Ma would insist on having hot fries, so we'd go back and forth. And if we wanted to go to a local eatery just to hang out for about an hour or less, that's what we did. We were allowed to go into neighborhoods and territories that we were comfortable in and also knew. Give you an example. I do this on excuse me 1 second. Yeah, that kind of sucks when you're getting older and get more junk in the throat. I do this from time to time to let out a narrative, and I'm asking for audience participation in this one here. So if you have a map app of sorts, I usually go through Google Maps myself. I'll type it into my laptop, and I see the lovely town of Roseman, California. But now I'm heading over towards the San Fernando Valley because I wanted to show you where, I know things have changed over the past decades, but I just wanted to show you the territory anyway. Just to give a story basis here. So if you kind of widen this shot until you see this wedge-shaped desert-like region, and you see a smaller valley below. A small valley that has the 5 and the splits up into a couple of freeways in there. Well, that's home. That's the San Fernando Valley. So I'm going that area, and I'm going to widen the shot, and I'm going to go into an area called North Hollywood, California. And the stuff I'm going to be heading into is going to be a little bit of the west of the 170 Hollywood Freeway. So it might pop in. If you happen to see the wording saying North Hollywood, well, that's home sweet home. The streets I'm looking for is Van Owen. Now, I can go over to the 170 freeway and just kind of look for Van Owen. And notice that there's a park in the area on the north side of it. I'm going to use that as a reference because I'm going several blocks to the left of it, to the west of it. And I'm going to find this middle school, or junior high, a long time ago as it was called, James Madison Junior High, or James Madison Middle School. I prefer junior high. I don't know why they changed it in the first place, but they did. Now, there was a lot of changes happening from the 70s and 80s all the way through now, because on the corner of Coldwater Canyon and Van Owen, the elementary school of Coldwater Canyon changed after the 94 earthquake, and there's been reconstruction and deconstruction of a little bit of a shopping center on the northwest corner. It used to be a market basket, a big, huge building called Market Basket. And there used to be a side mall, strip mall, alongside of it. There'd be a deli, cleaners, Canyon Drugs, our local pharmacy to get gimcracks, gift cards, candy, very popular with the kids. Across the street, there would have been a donut shop for kids to get breakfast. If they were not going to get breakfast over at school, they would stop in and get a donut. Even the junior high kids did that. This was the normal local area. I used to live in an apartment, and I'd walk from the apartment all the way over to the elementary school without people walking with me, except maybe a few neighborhood friends. We walk in a group, go over to the school, come right back home. We didn't need escorts from parents. Some parents actually did drive their kids to school. Maybe it was too far for them to walk. I admit that one. Here's the thing concerning about getting food when we can afford it, like fast food, like McDonald's. We had a hankering for McDonald's, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, and all that sort of good stuff. But I'll tell you, walking a distance between where the store was and home was, we get that stuff cold as hell. Now, if we actually had the car driving, if we could afford the gas, I mean, would use the gas money to drive her all the way to halfway across the valley to a job site and come right back home. And there would be a movie theater in that area. My brother and I would go through a neighborhood, just our usual zigzagging pattern. And we would go watch a movie, eat fries, and then get yelled at. My brother, he would have friends in the neighborhood that would have bikes. And they would ride, um, maybe sometimes over to Van Nuys, which would have been the far left, well past the aqueduct, into the busy area. Or my brother would go over to Laurel Canyon in Victory, or Laurel Canyon Van Owen, when we actually did have a strip mall, but there were actually a huge mall area to go to. My brother would ride his bike for miles. He would be out on Saturdays. Just a little exploration. In the valley, there's this corridor of industrial places. My brother wouldn't go in those areas. Not as much. He would, but he wasn't allowed to. My brother could only go as far as he could towards Laurel Canyon. Because in that area before, if you look at the Google Maps right now, they had a high school, but in that area, they did have Sears at one time, and they'd have a large strip mall and at the end of it would be Hughes Market. That would be the area to the extent my brother could go. He was allowed to go to. In the area of Van Owen, they would have somewhere in the park area public swimming pool. On some hot days, my brother and I would walk over there. It would take us about an hour or hour and a half, depending on our speed. And we would go over there and jump in the swimming pool. Or else go to the golf range when I actually had one. Uh, when it hit the balls as far as they can. They had one over there. Right by the 170 freeway on the left-hand side. You see all that green? Park setup would be a lot different back then. But this would be the extent of how we would go and do things. Soccer fields. Shit. Whatever happened to miniature golf? Whatever happened to a golfing range when you could go to one? I don't get the soccer range. The place has changed over the past, 50 years. So what the woman was saying about walking a mile, we would walk a mile. But back then, we didn't have it, not as stressful. We had to pay attention who's a stranger and who's not a stranger. And if we could trust law enforcement or not. I mean, we did. You always have a problem, you go to a fireman or you go to a policeman. And then you tell them what's going on. But they wouldn't punish the parents as much. It's not that we've heard. So, that was back then. And times have changed. How was I when I was about 10 years old? Okay, visualization again. Okay. In 76, my family moved, and I've talked about a lot about this one in my other videos. But I just want to give it a brief sexualized here. We'd moved from North Hollywood over to a town called Arleta. It's right next to Pacoima and San Fernando area, right next to it. We were right by the 5 freeway. We never did see all the shopping centers in that area. But we weren't dealing with the shopping areas in that way. I went to an elementary school along Canterbury called Canterbury Elementary. And Canterbury and Montague, or Montague. Lived on a street called Beachy and Wingo, right by Osborne Street. You want to look for a landmark, you look for a nice long green patch. They usually have the power poles and the phone poles on those. So somewhere in that area is where I lived, across the street from a church. I show you how far I had to walk to the school. As I said before, Canterbury and Montague, or Montague, and home at the age of between 10 and 12. Across the street of, actually across the aqueduct was the area of Arleta and Osborne. And in that area was 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven, and there was another drugstore in the area. Pharmacy. I liked looking at the toy cars when I was a kid. I think I got 1 or 2 of them out of them a long time ago. If I wanted any comics or chips, I would have to earn it by doing a lot of chores at home to earn a little bit of money to go over to 7-Eleven and get some stuff, even stuff for home. Now, when it came down for shopping, we'd go down Osborne Street till we got to the area where we see Woodman and Nordhoff area. And up and down that area between Osborne and Nordhoff was a shopping area my family would go to all the time. We'd go for pet supplies all the time. We'd go to the Vons, shopping over there. But was I ever allowed to walk all the way down there? No. 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 I was at home and I was dealing with my mother and I was dealing with two elderly ladies. So there's no way in hell I was going to be going out. If Mom was going out, I'd get babysitted by my grandmother and my aunt. And I wouldn't be leaving home until Ma got home or Dave got home. And when we'd shop over at Bonds as a family. Leaving the ladies at home. And me and David and Ma would go over to the stores in our shopping area to get some stuff. Once in a while, we would see a good movie. If we had the money for it. We'd walk over to, let's see. My brother was going to be driving. If he was going to be allowed to drive. And we'd go to stuff in the San Fernando Valley. My brother, as I said before, was 8 years older, so he would be old enough. And I had to put my faith and trust in the guy. So we would drive to San Fernando Valley. I mean, we would drive in a few areas that we knew and other areas we were exploring. And one time my brother actually had a job as a kid, 17, 18-year-old. He found a job as a security guard all the way out in the west end of the valley. It's my way of looking at things around. If we wanted to get some fast food while we were at home, there was an area, where the hell was Lancashire? Or one time I remember I went to a Burger King. I was not very good at navigating my way around areas because I didn't know where the hell we were at the time. So I had to pay attention where we were going to. There's a street called Webb, if I'm not mistaken. And we would go down this street, just trying to figure out where the Samuel we were, because the way the streets were running, it was not exactly the most linear area, I'll tell you that much, but I'll throw you off. But I remember we went over to crossroads of some sort to get maybe Burger King if we wanted it, or find another chicken place to have chicken, or let alone ribs. The only place we knew that there was great ribs was Chris and Pitts, the area we moved out of. It was on Woodman and Victory. I hated it when they shut it down. I had to learn the valley all through my life. At least most of the areas that we would drive through. My brother and I would do most of the driving. Ma wasn't exactly keen on navigating all the way around, but my brother and I would do all the driving and navigating. Even if I had a map book with me, I'd navigate a great deal. But as I got older, there was more faith and trust in it. When I was 10 through 12, I didn't travel as much on my own. Normally we go into elementary school or staying at home and taking care of the ladies. And then on some occasions during the summertime, I'd get to do a little bit of traveling, not much. As I said before, as I got older, and we moved out of one area, I was about 12, into Granada Hills, right by John F. Kennedy High School by the 118 freeway. There's a small street called McKeever. So at the age of 12, I was going over to a junior high. Patrick Henry Junior High. It was located on the outskirts of the Granada Hills. Now, keep this in mind. If you guys would look on the map of San Fernando Valley, you're going to be seeing a curvish road going to the west, the 118 freeway. It would be joining up with the 5 freeway and then also with the 405. It's past the 405 on the west-hand side is where you see the curve going on. And then up on the northern portion, you would see the high school of Kennedy, my alma mater of a class of 85. There'll be other schools in the area. A couple of junior highs and an elementary school somewhere in the neighborhood. But I was close to a high school. But I wasn't even ready for it. I was going over to a junior high. So try this one, guys. Now, from the extent over here, there would have been another high school, or actually a junior high, that I would have gone to. Maybe Haskell? No, that's Haskell Elementary. There would have been, where the hell was it at? It's also Street Elementary. No, Monroe, or Porter Junior High, actually. Yeah, Porter Junior High. It would have been a bit of a walk, but I would have been able to get over to Porter Junior High. But I was enrolled in I was important in the junior high I was going to. Patrick Henry Junior High. So this was right along Devonshire area, right by Balboa, except to the west of it. So for the most part, it's either a nice long 1.5 or 2 hour walk, or you take a bus. And there was a bus that would get me close to it. Back then we had the Rapid Transit District before they changed it into the Metropolitan Authority. In the RTD, there was a bus stop close to my home. Right along Havenhurst. I would go all the way down to San Fernando Mission. Hang a right, go west until they head over to Balboa, and then head south. Head all the way down to Devonshire. And from Devonshire, where the hell was it at? Where's right there it is. From Devonshire, I would have to walk it. Or not from Devonshire, but at least San Jose Street, a little above it. And I'd have to walk it across. Well, before they had the school changings and everything else you see right now, there'd be different buildings, commercial buildings in the area. And still housing. So I'd walk from San Jose and Balboa for about, let's see, about what? How many blocks? About 1, 2, 3, 4. After the 4th block, I'd head over to the school. Now, if I wanted to, and I had a hankering for breakfast, and if I had a few extra bucks in my pocket, I would be heading over towards McDonald's. I think they still have it over there. At least, probably changed it. Yeah, they changed it. There used to be a McDonald's over there before they closed it and changed it into something else and mutated the whole place. I hate when life changes. Changes a hell of a lot of things, and so does the '94 earthquake. Ugh. Not fun. But when they actually did have a McDonald's over there, I'd get my hash browns, I'd get my sausage muffin with egg, I'd get a little bit of orange juice, and I'd walk the stuff all the way over. Walk it behind, walk it down a street called Hiawatha. Hiawatha. Until we get over to the campus. By that time, my breakfast is already gone, and I'm heading over to class. But this is when I got a little bit older. We're talking about a 10-year-old back in Georgia. Different rules, different attitudes right now as it is, to where it's more of a paranoid culture, I would think. Trying to tell people that they can't have their kids out without adult supervision or without a babysitter at all. A 10-year-old walking a mile to where he needs to get to It's like walking from the McDonald's on Balboa all the way over to the junior high without adult supervision. But at 10 years old, it's a different story altogether because I was allowed to go anywhere. I understand that particular point of view. But not to the point where you got cops arresting people because you got a kid who's on a shopping mission. He's got money in his pocket. He's going to buy some stuff at a Dollar Tree. And he's coming right back. What's the problem? These days, it's getting a little bit more and more paranoia. And it's a little bit more terrifying these days because now the adults are going to have to think they can't leave the kids unattended at all. What's the age bracket? What's the age limit? How old do you have to be before you actually get your independence going? When I was at 10 years old, I'll tell you how far I went. Okay, well, part of it anyway. I'll show you again. One particular section, though. I'm heading back over to Arleta again. Back over to the freeway. Dropping it all the way over towards, let's see where the hell we are. Back in the area. Terabella. Oh, I said where I want to go to. But I do want to go to Canterbury Elementary. Okay, here we go. I'll show you one thing. I went to the park. Now from Wingo and Beachy, or shall we use the major ones? Osborne and Arleta area. Okay? Just following that aqueduct down until it gets over towards Brantford. I walked down Beachy. A straight shot to the park. And at the time, they actually did have a swimming pool over there. At one time, they actually did have a swimming pool. I don't know why they closed it down, shut it down. But they had. And they made a hell of a lot of changes afterwards throughout the years, I think. And it was an area I would play around in the playground. I'd stay there for about an hour. And then when I saw that the sun was getting down a little bit, I had to run. I had to walk back up. But that's the far as I went, is the park. It was close to the elementary school, and it was just basically down the street from my home. How many blocks are we talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks. 4 blocks away. That's the length, and that's the distance I would have. Maybe about a quarter of a mile or less, or maybe more. I'd like to find out what the distance would have been for that one, though. And a younger kid has, it takes a little long time for the kid to run or walk. You get older, you get longer legs, and you get more distance and stride. But I'll be playing for about an hour or two before I get the hell out of there. And my mother makes sure I had a watch on. And when I get back home, she wanted to know if I was safe. When we were living in Arleta at the time, my mother did it 24/7. Because when we moved over there, we were taking care of our grandmother and our aunt who moved in with us. So it was my mother, me, my big brother, my grandmother, and my aunt. 4 bedrooms. But it was a nice house, too. I liked it. The den was my mother's bedroom, so to speak. I mean, she had laid down there and slept out there. Me took over her spot. There was no room for double teaming in my brother's bedroom, so. And Ma could have slept in the bedroom, but she didn't. She gave me my own room as a 10-year-old, growing up, having his own room. But that was so long ago. I didn't have the exploration, not enough of it anyway. But if I did, I think I would have walked a little further from Arleta to maybe beyond the freeway, but I didn't. There's certain areas that we walked into and other areas we didn't go into. It was just different times, different attitudes. Compared to now, it's more of like, how dare you do this? We did. We did. So that's how it was. Do I blame the mother? I don't know the culture. I don't know what was going on in Georgia. I can't make that kind of determination. I can only go from my own experiences out here in Southern California in the San Fernando Valley at the time when I was growing up. Do I understand if it was probably wrong right now? Said before, I'm not going to put a judgment on this one here. I mean, I suppose I could, but I'm going it from the past where I was accustomed and growing up under. I don't know what it was like back then, and I don't know what it's like right now. So I'm supposed to make that kind of a determination. Was it right? The other question is, was it safe? Was the kid in any danger going from home to a Dollar Tree and back? I'm going to show you something in my own town right now, currently, okay? If you guys been watching my videos, you know that I'm going to be bringing it back over to Roseman, California. Let's go back to the Desert Wedge, and we'll go back to the armpit of Antelope Valley there, Roseman. And I'll show you the town, okay? I got kids walking up and down the streets in this town of ours. Now, the 14 freeway goes straight through it. You got the west side and you got the east side. Which side of the tracks we're talking about? Oh. They used to make a joke about that one concerning about the checks or determination whether or not you were of wealth and means, and if you're just, ugh. That's how it basically was interpreted. But as I look at the west, it's like wealth and means, and you look at the east, ugh. That's how the attitude is these days in our town. But I'll show you. I got kids in our neighborhood, in my hood, in my territory. My mama dog is up. My mama dog is up. Easy does it, old girl. Easy does it, baby. You gotta watch out for this dog. I'm 24/7 for her right now. But anyway, we would have kids riding up and down the street with bikes. I would have kids walking up and down the street to different areas. If you look at the town of Roseman, just put the 14 freeway in the middle, and you also see the Sierra Highway right there. I would have kids in our area here would play just in our complex, but also they would walk as far as they could to the liquor store if they needed to, and a little bit beyond that, or more than that. We'd have the other kids spread out who are living in these small isolated patches that stay within their own territory. Apparently in Roseman, you stay within your own hood. We have elementary schools, at least 2 or 3 of them. We have maybe one high school and maybe 1 or 2 junior highs. That's about it. We have buses that would take the kids to and from school, operated by Kern County Busing. We would also have um, a dial-a-ride service that would pick up kids. You'd make arrangements every week, for every week or for every other, or however the arrangements are, to get the kids to and from school. If they're missing a bus, at least some of them who haven't got the bus service would catch the dial-a-ride and get them over there and come back. So that's the thing we have going in our town. Now, if they wanted to go find somewhere fun, they don't have any fun places. Not in this town anyway. It's mostly adults, retirees, and people who've actually lived here for a long while. There's not that much. They stripped it bare before me and my brother had lived out here back in, back in 13, 14. So any kind of fun activity happening out here, drinking, That was about it. Go to a few bars. Gambling. Yeah, on Avenue A and 20th. Anywhere else, you would have to go to Lancaster and Palmdale to get your flight number fixed, or anywhere else beyond this. This place is basically for people who just want to just retire, not do a damn thing, just veg out in front of a television or something like that. No movie theaters, no walk-ins, no drive-ins. Well, drive-ins are gone anyway, mostly, aren't they? We wouldn't have a problem concerning about the kids. I don't see any cops monitoring the kids. We don't have that many cops out here anyway, so they don't have that much to do. They're basically bored out of their minds. If we had this kind of mentality back in Georgia, it would have been better. Mother and Charlotte was from a small town in Georgia. Basically a small town. You blinked, you missed it. I'll show you how far a mile is from my home. Okay? From the edge of the eastern portion of Rosebud, we're right next to Edwards Air Force Base. From that, you would walk to maybe to the Sierra. That's almost a mile, or just about a mile. Add another half, you'll be over to 14 freeway. Add another quarter to that, you're by a shopping center on the west end, where we have another. We're right by the elementary school. But this is what they're talking about for the distance length between here and the 14 freeway. It's basically about a little bit more than a mile. So the kids walking from home, from United, basically I would say over to Sierra Highway. If you're going down that street of Roseman Boulevard. Where'd you guys sneak from? They're on a fire call. It's like me going over to Sierra Highway. If I was a kid, I was going over Sierra Highway, right over the railroad tracks. What would it be over there? Let's see, fast trip. No real fast food places to eat out of. Except if I go a little bit further than that, I would go over to Foster's Freeze, if I could afford it, and get a burger, jog it down, or to another place on 20th. That's more than a mile right there. If I wanted to get some chips or something, I have 700 yards to walk. Go to a local library, to a local liquor store. I would go over to a Mexican restaurant if I wanted Mexican, or to a Thai place to get some Oriental. If I wanted pizza, we would order it, and we get it delivered from Domino's and Pizza Hut. We would have to walk the distance. The kids would be walking the distance. It's the difference between here and California. They call us laid back. Over here, we just don't have that much adult supervision out here. So yeah, we would have the quote-unquote free-range kids. Even in my complex, we still have the free-range kids. But at least the adults would know where the hell they are, most of the time anyway. But that's my take concerning about the Georgia situation. Trying to compare things here, and it's wicked.